All right, well, it looks like it is 1 o'clock, so we will go ahead and get started. I would like to welcome everyone who's joining us today, and we are recording this event as well, so there will be an opportunity to be able to watch the event later if you weren't able to join us in person. I'm J.R. Swanigan, as I believe all of you know, and very excited that you will be joining us this fall semester as 1Ls at Mizzou Law. We wanted to take this opportunity today to utilize a webinar to be able to touch on some of the things that might be that you might be thinking about over the course of the summer, provide some guidance from some of our current students about things that would have been helpful to them to know, and just answer any questions that you have. If you do have questions, feel free to use the chat feature, and Dean will be helping to manage the chat feature. And I will open it up to questions from our panel of students here shortly. But I did just want to run through a few of the administrative details that we've heard from several students on and around this time of year that I wanted to run through. So the first is, we are still, if you haven't had the opportunity yet to schedule a visit or visit Mizzou Law, we are still open to scheduling visits. Starting Monday for 2 weeks, we will have our finals in effect. And so we don't schedule visits during finals for the law students, but in mid-May, we will be open to visits again. The building will be quiet because it's our summer break, but you're welcome to still come in, take a tour of the law school. We'll still have some student ambassadors around. So if you'd like to be able to meet some student ambassadors, or you just want to meet any of us in person, feel free to reach out to myself, Julia, or Dean, and we're happy to schedule a visit for you. There have been some questions regarding housing and how to go about finding housing. And so that will be one of the questions that I'm going to pose to our student panel, as well as what advice, if any, that they have. But I will share with you that Dean has shared in the chat already our housing guide, and our housing guide is one that comes to us by way of recommendations from where our students have lived in the past. So it's not an exhaustive guide of every housing option that's available to you on campus, but it does have a fair number of good options that are available to you, and gives you a sense of the price point for those options. Many students ask if Mizzou has campus housing, and the short answer is we do have very, very limited campus housing for graduate and professional students, but probably 95 to 98% of our students actually live off campus and commute to the campus. So we'll open it up to any discussions that you might have, or any questions that you might have, and I'll ask the students themselves if they've got any advice on housing as well. But we do want to work with you to be able to find housing. Another thing to consider, I know we have the Facebook page. If you haven't joined the Facebook page, feel free to join the Facebook page, and that's a great opportunity. Students often share that they're looking for a roommate. Either they're coming in from out of town, or we've got 2L and 3L students that are looking for a roommate. So keep an eye on that. And then I know that there's separate back channel discussions on the Discord as well, that if people are discussing that, but it's a great opportunity to be able to connect from a housing perspective. We will be sending you information in the near future with a Canvas site, where you will have a variety of forms that need to be completed, including like immunization forms and photo release forms, and a variety of other forms that will need to be completed before you start your journey here with us at Mizzou Law. There will also be some information on getting parking, and so that you haven't missed anything there, and all of that information will be forthcoming from us in the near future to be able to get parking as well. A lot of students have been asking about how they register for the classes, and I can tell you that registration for classes is not something that you need to worry about. In your first year of law school, we will register you for your classes. So there's a set curriculum in law school for the first year, and we will register you for your classes. We will divide the course schedule for the fall semester for 1Ls is not yet complete. We anticipate that will be complete, and this is consistent with years past, in mid-June. At that point, we will we, meaning the admissions team, along with the Associate Dean of Academics, will divide you into one of two sections, and then that will dictate what your schedule looks like going forward. And we will send you the information regarding which section you are in and what your course schedule looks like. Along with that, we'll also provide some information about how to get books, what books that you need. There's a variety, there's a lot of ways to access books, and our students likely have some advice on that as well. The bookstore is not the only option for books. We have a great SBA book pool. We have options available at the bookstore. You can purchase your books on online retailers as well, but there's nothing to do at the moment as far as registering for courses or as far as buying books. You'll just wait to hear from us, and it's probably going to be mid to late June before you hear from us about course registration. One final thing from me before I turn it over to Jeff for just a moment: orientation. Orientation is mandatory. You will be receiving information about orientation also in the very near future, but save the dates for August 15th and 16th for orientation. And we are looking forward to seeing you then. The following week, and I don't have the date in front of me, but classes will start the following Monday after August 15th and 16th. So you'll be here for those 2 days of mandatory orientation. Then you'll have a couple days on the back end to do sort of what you want or get acclimated with Columbia and with Mizzou. And then classes will officially begin on the Monday following orientation. So one quick detour before we get to our student panel. I did want to turn it over to Jeff for just a moment. And I think most, if not all of you, know Jeff Turnbull as well, who manages financial aid and residency and a variety of other things. But he's going to provide some information about residency for any of our out-of-state students and potential work. You're on mute, Jeff. Jeff, you're muted.
There we go. Welcome, everybody. For non-resident students that are interested in student employment, we do have a limited number of work study positions available in the law school. And so those are kind of first come, first serve. And so if you're interested in student employment, let me know. Just send me an email. One of the requirements for residency is you have to have at least $2,000 of taxable income in Missouri. And so a good way of getting a head start on that is by working a handful of hours while you're in law school. And so those positions will be primarily in the law school library. We do have a few positions in the admissions office, and Sophie's in the admissions office and she works there. So does Azota. And we do have other departments like career development, and the Veterans Clinic may hire first-year law students for for employment positions. The other thing I wanted to briefly touch on is the residency petitioning period runs a full 12 months. And a lot of questions are, well, what can I do after that first year of law school that following summer? And the answer is, you can, as long as you're enrolled, you can be anywhere on the planet. You can study abroad, you can do an externship in a different state. As long as you're enrolled, you can go anywhere you want to go. If you're not enrolled, then you're limited to a 14-day rule where you can be out of the state for 14 days. And so that's going to run through the non-enrollment period. That's going to be the summer term. During the summer, the 14-day rule would be applicable. So the residency process is really easy. Driver's license, register to vote. If you're the sole owner of your car, you have to register your car. If you're not the sole owner, then you don't. But again, if you're interested in student employment, just let me know. I'm happy to add you to the list and help connect you with an opportunity.
Perfect. Thanks, Jeff. And Jeff, would you mind putting your contact information in the chat as well if students want to reach out to you specifically? So this is the point of the program where we're going to turn it over to some of our, not some of our current students. And for those of you in the audience, if you do have questions, please feel free to drop those questions into the chat, and we'll do our best to get to as many questions as we can before we close down at 2 o'clock. But I'd like to start with introductions, and I just, based on the way people are on my screen, if you could just tell us name, where you're from, what you studied in undergrad, and basically how you ended up in Mizzou, what year you are in law school. And I'll just do this one this way. We'll go Jessica, Sophie, Azoda, Hal, Rashad, and Nolan.
Thank you and welcome everyone. So I'm Jessica, I'm a 1L. I have kind of a weird story. My dad was in the Army, so I've lived nowhere more than 4 years. And then I joined the Air Force. So I graduated from the University of Washington with a degree in criminal justice 11 years ago. Well, it's weird to say that. And yeah, 1L.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sophia Marcola. You can call me Sophie. I'm also a 1L. I'm from Quincy, Illinois. It's about 2 hours away. I went to undergrad at the University of Kentucky, go Wildcats. I studied political science and communications, and I graduated in the December of 2021. So I graduated early, studied very, very shortly, intensively for the LSAT, decided very last minute that I wanted to go to law school, thought I was going to do public policy, changed my mind, said I might as well just know the law, took the LSAT, worked for Disney for 6 months in that interim time. And then I came here and I'm having the best time ever. So.
I'm also 1L. I'm Ozoda. I'm originally from Tajikistan, but I've lived in Colombia for 14 years. I graduated from Columbia College, which is just down the street from Mizzou, and I got a political science major as well from there. I just really wanted to stay in Columbia, and Mizzou Law is a great program to be in. So it really was the only place I applied to, and it worked out just fine for me.
Hi, I'm Hal Gibbs. I'm from Jefferson City. I went to undergrad here at Mizzou. I graduated in 2019 with a finance degree. After graduating undergrad, I worked in sales for a little bit. I always wanted to go to law school. I have my dad's an attorney, and I have some other family members that are attorneys, and they all went to Mizzou Law, and they're all successful practicing attorneys now. So I looked up to them and their decision to go to Mizzou.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rashad Kirksey. I am a 2L from Jonesboro, Arkansas. I graduated from Arkansas State University with my bachelor's in political science. Yeah, and I'm excited to be here.
Hello all, I'm Nolan, I'm a 2L. Graduated in 2019 with my master's in criminal justice. Took a year off to save up some money and get to law school, and wanted to be in Missouri, so got to go with the flagship university, right?
Perfect. Thanks for setting the stage for us, everyone. So this is a bit of a twofer question, and we'll just go in the same order, at least this time. But what, if any, advice do you have for admitted students to be thinking about or doing during this summer before they start law school? And then sort of an add-on is, if you have any advice regarding housing or how you went about finding housing that you'd like to add, I'd be interested in that as well. So same order, we'll start with you, Jessica.
My advice is to enjoy the time off before the storm. Is when you start law school, you're going to be extremely busy. Go visit your friends and family in the other places. There will be some downtime, but it's going to be very limited, probably compared to how you experience your undergrad. And then the other piece of advice that I failed to do myself is reach out to the people that are going to be in your class, because establishing those connections early on, even if they're in the other section, will make your experience a lot better. As far as housing goes, I cheated a little bit. My boyfriend was already here and knew where to live. So maybe Sophie can help you with that.
I absolutely can. Fun fact, I came in July. I visited for the first time. My sister went to undergrad here, but I was dead set Mizzou. I was not going to Mizzou, and now I like live, breathe, die Mizzou. But it was very funny because it was very late in July that I decided officially to come here. And I came into the admissions office and I was like, I think Mizzou is my place. I don't really know. I can't find housing anywhere, for the love of God. And we sat in JR's office, me and Dean and Jeff, and literally like they helped me look for apartments. We were on Zillow. We were going everywhere to find like the best place to look for. I know that we also give you guys a list of like different housing opportunities, but I definitely recommend signing sooner rather than later because that gives you more of a preference. I live at the Den currently. I love it. It's perfect for me. And they have a bus that drives straight directly to campus if that's something you're interested in, or if you want to live close to campus, there's a lot of awesome options as well. You can reach out to me, you can reach out to any of the students that are already here too to help you, and we'll give you like an honest review. In regard to advice, I knew nothing about the law. I didn't know anything at all. You could be like, what is a lawyer? And I'd be like, they know the law. That's really it. That's all I could really tell you. So I would recommend, and what I did is I met with either maybe meet with like a current student or like someone, if you know, in the legal profession, because they're going to give you tips and they're going to help you. So for example, like outlining is basically a summarization of all your notes throughout the semester. Sometimes teachers let you take them in to tests, which is very awesome and cool. I didn't know you could ask other people for their outlines. That's just a tip that I learned when I met with people and they like explained what an outline was to me. It's just really helpful because there's going to be terms in law school that you learn. And if you already know that, awesome. I didn't know anything. And they just may help you with like little tips here and there to like help you in the future, whether it's like orgs or classes or studying tips, treating law school like a job, etc., kind of things like that.
I had a similar experience with law school as Sophie did. I also came very on an impulse, just last minute decided to go to law school. And because of that, I worked at the courthouse as a clerk, but I knew nothing about law school, and it is very different. First thing is that I'm gonna give the same advice that Nolan gave me, who was my tour guide when I was thinking about going to Mizzou, is to read nothing related to law. Just read some like novels or just whatever you're interested in. Just read as much as you can. Like if you're on vacation, like go to the beach, read something fun. Just it will really help your brain a lot, and it won't be like, it will be productive, but it won't be like you're doing law school, because that's going to be everything you do from now on. In terms of housing, I think that Columbia, because it's a college town, it, like most places, cater to students, so it won't be too difficult because there's usually something available. And if you can't like navigate that, of course, this office is super helpful. I know a lot of students that have been like immensely supported by this office. Another thing I would note is that do not like, I think cold calls was something that everyone was afraid of when they were going into law school. I wouldn't worry about that too much. I would be worried about like your exams, not like don't freak out about them, but I would just have that perspective when you go in. Don't think about, oh my God, I'm going to get cold called. Even when you're prepared, people get nervous, but I wouldn't be worried too much about the cold calls. I'd be worried about being prepared for class and like making sure you understand it. And the last tip I have is to really work on your like the speed at what you type, because it can make a big difference. And that's if you plan on like writing it, like typing your exams as opposed to a blue book. But being a fast typer and a fast reader is going to really get you far in law school.
Yeah, I would agree with everybody else's sentiment about the summer, where just, you know, you've done all the work to get to this point, and this is kind of like a time where you can just relax and you know, focus on the things that you like to do. Maybe do some light reading, not about the law, just about what you enjoy. As far as housing goes, I live at the Deer Valley Apartments. It's probably like 5-minute drive to campus. There's a lot of 1Ls that live here. It's really affordable, but they're really nice places. I was kind of worried because when I went to undergrad at Mizzou, I always lived on campus, so I was just used to that. So I was like, well, how's it going to work living off of campus? But it's actually really nice. It only takes like 5 minutes to get to the parking, Fifth Street parking garage where we park. And then it's like a 5-minute walk to class, like one block to law school. So it's been really, really convenient.
I would echo the sentiments of everyone else. In regards to housing, it just really depends on what you want. When it comes to, living. I mean, do you want to live in student housing, or do you want to live more, outside of that? You're more of an alone person, not wanting to be around younger undergraduate students and the, chaos that comes with that. So it really just depends on what you want. If you're more wanting student housing, there are plenty of options in Columbia, because of course, as everyone said, it is a college town. If you don't want college housing, that can be a bit more difficult, because a lot of times places that aren't student housing have a little bit more strict requirements as far as income and things of that goes. So you probably need like a guarantor or something like that, which most likely would be like your parent or something. And those can be kind of hard to find, or hard to find ones that are reasonably priced. So if you are interested in that, I would say early as possible, like now, start looking and start filling out applications, because it will go fast. I got started looking for my housing probably around the end of May. It was difficult, but one of the original places that I went to, eventually I stuck with, which I know is probably rare for a lot of students, but go ahead and get that started as soon as possible. And I also would say the same, relax and enjoy this time over the summer. Enjoy your family, your friends, especially if you're moving away from home. I'm 5 hours away, which I'm actually at home now. But in Columbia, I'm 5 hours away from my hometown. Where I went to undergrad, where my family is. So enjoy that time with those people that you cherish most, and continue those relationships, because you're gonna need them when you come to law school, especially like I said, if you're not where you're from, or even if you're from Columbia, you won't be able to spend as much time with those individuals as you were before school. So enjoy that, and cherish it.
So I've got 3 categories of advice. If you have dogs, if you have big dogs, if you have dogs in general, you need to be like already looking for housing. I have a very big 90-pound mutt that I love dearly, but it made trying to find housing very, very difficult. So, keep that in mind, or keep the pup at home. Cats are a lot easier to find housing, just by their nature. As far as reading, writing, prepping, I took a year off. So practicing those skills and practicing to get back into the academic writing and reading style was really, really a skill I wish I would have kept up with during that year. So take your time. But if you feel a little rusty, write about something that you know, or something that will keep you in that skill set. Write a topic sentence, write point 1, point 2, point 3, and a conclusion sentence, right? Just write a paragraph. Because you go back to the basics, and those basics then are applied to law. This is just different, subject matter, not a different skill set. As far as advice coming in, 2 things to keep in mind. Everybody's got imposter syndrome. Everybody is going to feel like they don't know what they're doing. And that can cause people to come off as stressed. And so giving people grace, giving people that niceness will treat you so well. It will make you so many friends. People will appreciate that you give them grace, and that these are the people that you're going to be spending 3 years with, and then probably the majority of your career with, right? So setting it up so that way you guys can have that ability to have those connections for the rest of your life is really important. Everybody's scared when they come in. That's completely normal. It's part of the process.
Perfect, thank you. So I'll give you a sort of buyer's choice of one of 2 questions, if you will. One, what are you doing this summer, and what did you and how did you go about sort of obtaining that opportunity? Or second, do you have advice or tips for managing your time in law school, and things that students might be able to think about now or work on now to be able to manage the workload and the responsibilities of law school? You can touch on both if you'd like, but choose one or the other. And let's go in reverse order this time. We'll go Nolan, Rashad, Hal, Azoda, Sophie, and Jessica.
JR, I think we have a question. Zay has been waiting a while.
Oh, okay.
I'll go ahead, Zay. I think you're muted, Zay. Well,
Is the question in the chat?
no, he raised his hand, so.
Oh, okay. Well, while we're trying to figure that out, why don't we go with Nolan? Why don't you start?
Sure. So start working out, start going on a walk, do something outside, do something that's physical. You are going to be sitting a lot, you're going to be reading a lot. Start that practice now. Start doing it when you're busy and you're having a busy day, because it's all about repetition. We're trying to get it in reps, and this summer you have a really unique opportunity to set up the habits that you want. That way, when you transition into law school, you're not missing a beat. You're actually, jumping in head first, and you can get all the information, and it's just supplanting law school into your normal routine. This summer, I applied and got a compliance job through LinkedIn. Last summer, I used the career development office and used local connections that they had to secure a job in town. You can do, there's plenty of opportunities for career. It's just a matter of what kind of law you want to be in, where are those interests. Maybe you want to rule something out. Summer opportunities are a great way to do that. And you should take all the risky options during your summer.
So this summer, I'll be working at a firm in St. Louis. It's a Midwest-based firm. They have offices in St. Louis, Kansas City, and other places. But I'll be in St. Louis, and I'll be in their employment litigation department. And I got that position through our career and services office, career services and development office. We have like an online program where you can go, put in your resume and things of that nature, and then it'll show you for job openings for people who are going into the workforce or people who are looking for internships. And so I applied through there and got that. And I think that was more towards the beginning of very beginning of this fall. Last summer, and the only reason I bring this up is to make a point, which I'll tell you at the end. So my first summer internship I got was through one of the board of trustees that I met from my undergraduate institution. He found that I was going to law school, and he's like the managing partner at like the largest firm in Arkansas, which I mean, it's Arkansas, but still there, and offered me a summer clerkship position. And I say that to say, like, build upon the relationships you have now. You may not know any lawyers, but you know people that somehow have connections with them, somehow an attorney or a judge or someone who works in-house at a corporation, somewhere of that nature. So build those relationships you have now, because while, my classmates were stressing, their first year, after you got your first set of grades or whatever, looking for summer internships or, externships or whatever, I kind of was more relaxed because I'd already had my position that I was going to have, and I didn't have to worry about that. So, just build on those relationships now. Reach out. This would be a great time this summer. Hey, if you know a judge, hey, can we have lunch? Can we have coffee? Reach out to them through email or things of that nature. Also, I would go with what Nolan says. I would find a good routine, just to build healthy habits now, whether that be working out, yoga, whatever it is for you, because you're going to need those ways to decompress, and also just keep not only be physically active, but keep your mind, healthy. because that is vitally important.
So this summer, I'm really excited for this summer. I am doing the study abroad program with the law school. We're going to South Africa, Cape Town. I'll be there for 10 weeks. The first 4 weeks, I'm doing a Corruption Watch internship. Not exactly sure what all the details of that entail are yet, but we'll learn soon. And then the last 6 weeks, we'll be taking 3 different courses that count for course credit. It's 2 comparative law courses and a jurisprudence course. There's 2 professors that are, well, the dean actually is going over with us, and then there's a Professor Uphoff, who runs the program. Him and his wife actually have a house out in Cape Town. So he's very familiar with the area, and they've been doing it for, I think, close to 20 years or 15. I'm not exactly sure, but they've been doing it for a while. And so I'm really excited to do that. It'll be, since I, after undergrad, had the opportunity to work in an office setting and all that, I figured this would be kind of a last hurrah to do, you know, a really grand trip with a lifetime experience that I won't have the opportunity to do later on. As far as time management goes during school, I think if you can treat the day like an 8 to 5, like an office job, you can come in at 8 and do your work, go to class, and then by 5, if you're actually working that whole time, you'll be more than prepared. And then beyond that, I'd also say at least make out like 1 hour a day to do something that you like, whether that's like exercising or cooking or even just like relaxing and watching TV. I think you set an hour at night to just do something that you enjoy and that kind of relaxes or decompresses you. That's really important.
I agree with, of course, everything they've said. In terms of this summer, I have an interest in environmental law, so I'll be working with the General Counsel's office with the St. Louis Sewer District. This will give me an opportunity to not only figure out if I really do like that field, and also the General Counsel does a lot of different things, so I could also at the same time discover other interests that I have. And I did that just by like applying through the CDO's Sage portal, where they will post jobs, and they're extremely helpful for you to find a job. They will really work really hard that every single person has a job over the summer. But I wouldn't rely completely on them, because I mean, I think a lot of people here have already said that they found what they're doing over the summer through like LinkedIn or just outside, honestly, just Google search them sometimes. In terms of like helping to get on track with, you know, trying to get used to how you would do law school, I agree with everything that was said. It is so easy to make like your identity as a law student just 100% you, because you do have to put a lot of work into it. But part of that means that you need to be healthy, and you can't do that by just only doing law school. You have to have another part of you like still alive by the time that you're done with the semester. So working out, anything, literally. But exercising would be probably ideal, so I would get on it.
And Azoto referenced the CDO, that's the Career Development Office. They're basically the people who are going to help you, like she said, get jobs. She mentioned Sage. Sage is like a job portal, and it also has like events that the Career Development Office puts on. They put on events all throughout the semester and year, and they really just, like she said, want to help you get a job. They are really, really awesome. As for my summer plans, I will be joining HAL in South Africa. COVID kind of disrupted my study abroad plans in my undergrad, and so I'm very, very excited. I will be working not for Corruption Watch, but for the Refugee Appeal Board, where I'll be helping refugees get citizenship in South Africa, which I am uber duper excited about. It's going to be an awesome program. He didn't mention that we get to go we get to go in cages and shark diving crazy, like sharks around us in the cages. There's a safari that we're going on. There's a bunch of like awesome hikes and things that we do. We go to wineries. It's a very fun trip. While school is very important, it also is a super fun thing. It was something I kind of knew from the first day that I wanted to be a part of. The law school program, the American Bar Association, kind of monitors all of the different university study abroad programs. So say that South Africa is not your favorite thing in the whole world and you've always wanted to go to Australia or Tokyo. They also have those options as well. I was looking at actually going to Tokyo, but I decided to be with my awesome fellow Mizzou law students. And then some other students from other schools are also coming to our program. So we have a student from Oregon, 2 from WashU, and 1 from Las Vegas law schools. So it is very cool. And it's something that the university has just kind of helped us in managing. And for those of you that are out of state, I am out of state as well. And it's still, like Jeff said, I still am going to acquire residency from doing the program. So if that's something that you've thought about holding you back, do not let it hold you back. They are awesome and want to work with you, and they want you to utilize these opportunities.
So for my summer program, I'm a big community person. Obviously, as I said, to reach out to your fellow law students. And so I started joining random Facebook groups, one of them being Women in Law. And somebody randomly posted, the Tech Bar has a diversity and inclusion program, which they advertise for students, which is basically, they'll set you up with an interview with a tech company. But then they'll also do a certification program where they kind of expose you to AI, broadband, and all kind of the inner workings of tech law, which took up a lot of Saturdays, but I'm done now. And I'm really happy that I did it because I also got a job through them, and I'll be working for a British telecommunications firm. And that will be in DC. And then half of the summer, I will go to Dallas, and that's where they do their employment litigation. So what I would take from that is to just explore what's out there and don't be afraid to try something new, because we're basically all new to this. And then as far as figuring out how to manage your schedule, I love planners and I love highlighters. And so the Happy Planner is like something that I take with me everywhere, and you can put stickers on it and just like the simple things that make me happy. And so if you find a good planner, if you've used a good planner, I would say stick with it. And that's how I was able to figure out when I'm going to class, or when I should go to the gym, or when I want to cook.
Perfect, thank you. So there are several questions from the audience. So I'm going to touch on some of these and then maybe open it up to our panelists for additional thoughts. The first question says, besides obtaining housing and completing our class readings, are there any major requirements we need to complete before the fall semester starts, i.e. photo release forms? The short answer is, when we send the Canvas page information, there will be a number of forms that need to be completed. There will be some parking information that needs to be completed. There are some short videos that you'll need to watch. But all in all, not a major sort of time investment of time or energy. So I'd say that nothing major beyond what we send you with the Canvas information that will be forthcoming. A question regarding grades. It says, what are grades based on in law school? Is it mostly tests, or are there other graded assignments? So a portion of orientation will be dedicated to explaining how grading works in law school. But to give you just a broad sense of how grading works is in your doctrinal classes. So you'll take, property law, tort law, contract law, and a variety of other courses. Doctrinal courses being sort of what you might think of as your lecture style classes, although we use a separate form of lecture. We use the Socratic method in law school, where there's a question and response based on hypotheticals. In those classes, you may have a midterm, but most of the time you will have one final exam at the end of the semester. So when Azoto was referencing earlier, being cold called, the cold calling is what, if you're not familiar with the term, it's what in law school a faculty member will ask you about a case or ask you about a hypothetical, and may ask you a question after question and keep changing the hypothetical to see if you understand the law. that can be stressful in the moment, but as she stated earlier, and I think others have echoed, really your understanding of the material is not assessed by cold calls in class, it's assessed by how you perform on the exam at the end of the semester. So in a lot of ways, it's very different than most people's educational experiences up to this point, in that you have one grade, you have a 3 or 4 hour exam, and you have one grade, and you're graded on a curve with your classmates. There are some courses. There's a course called lawyering that all 1Ls take, and there's a course called legal research and writing. There's a fair amount more interaction or evaluation throughout, and assessment throughout the course of the semester in those classes, and it's not typically going to be just one final exam for those classes. But the sort of standard law school grading experience, at least in the first year, is one exam, one grade. Usually one of your faculty members in your section will also give you a midterm to give you a sense of like what to expect at the end of the semester, but the midterm is usually a very small percentage of the overall grade. So that's kind of the way the grading works. We'll go into it in much greater depth in orientation, and then again before exams start. But if anyone has, I don't know if there's anything else to add.
I can speak, not to scare you with the test at the end of the year. These teachers want you to succeed, and you will be fine. That was something that Nolan touched on, is imposter syndrome. I'm just like feeling like you're not good enough, or like you don't know the material. You are going to be fine. In a lot of my classes, it hasn't just been one assignment at the end of the semester. Currently in contracts, it is that way for me. I had the same teacher both semesters, but in my other classes, there sometimes is like a small participation grade, whether that's like interacting in class, little quizzes in my civil procedure class, or like little various assignments. So not necessarily all of them will do just a big old test, but also don't let the test scare you. I'm somebody that has never felt super good about just like committing and having all my effort to a test, but these teachers want you to succeed, and there are so many different resources that will help you. So don't let that scare you.
Thanks. So then there's one other thing I wanted to add is I said that the tests are 3 or 4 hours. If you require accommodations as well, that will be another thing that we will be reaching out during the summer, and you'll be able to apply for accommodations for exams as well. Then there's a question that's relatively straightforward and easier. In terms of parking, are there any risks of us not getting space in the parking structure? Assuming that you do this timely, no, there is no risk. The parking garage, for those of you who have visited, you usually park in Turner Avenue garage. That's for our visitors, and faculty and staff park in that garage. The student parking is located in Hitt Street garage, which is about 2.5 blocks the other direction. And you don't get a reserved space, but it's a massive parking structure, and there are people coming in and out at all times. So you shouldn't be concerned about not getting parking, but we will provide information about parking and how you go about applying for parking. And it's very reasonably priced for later in the summer. Then there is a question about, are there opportunities for students who have identified unpaid or low paid internships? The short answer is yes. If you've already identified those, there are going to be opportunities. Our career development office, again, has been referenced on a number of occasions as a resource that can also assist you with looking at a variety of opportunities that may either be unpaid or low paid. But if I could just ask Jeff, would you just mind talking a little bit about the Shortridge loan as well, the Shortridge loan program? And you're muted. Oh, yeah.
The Shortridge loan program is available. It's a 0% interest loan program that's available for summer public interest placements, whether paid or unpaid. So if you have an interest in public service, you would be eligible to receive the summer Shortridge loan at 0% interest. It's got a 12-month grace period, repaid after, or 12 months after you graduate. So like you could be doing a public interest placement in South Africa and be eligible for that loan, or you could be doing a placement for the Jeff County Prosecutor's Office, or you could be in Colorado or in Illinois, Cook County. So, and be eligible for that short ridge loan.
Great, thank you. So another question, and then I'll just open this up. We'll go, we'll go the Jessica Sophie direction again this way. But it says, do all of you have roommates? I know we touched on the housing situation, but that's truly my biggest worry. So do you have roommates or not? And what went into that consideration maybe, but Jessica, I guess you already answered the question anyway, but if you have anything to add.
I do have a two roommates, my boyfriend and my dog. But I will say that I live in a duplex, and so I was worried about the other side of the house because I knew that they were students, and if they're going to be, you know, chaotic. But luckily, I was able to talk to the landlord and ask who they were, and it turns out that they were accounting and some other serious major, and so I haven't had any problems. And I do actually live behind all of the frets, which I thought was going to be an issue, but there are certain pockets of area of loudness, and so you can ask around and you can ask us where there are places to worry about. But so far, I haven't had any issues.
I personally don't have any roommates. Before I came here, I lived with a roommate, but it was very important conversation that my mom and I had that I didn't have a roommate just so I could kind of have a space to like be by myself. I do know people that do live together and do have roommates, and it kind of just is tailored up to you and what your comfortability level is. I will say that I like made a group chat for our like class group, and people would ask like, does anyone need a roommate? Does anyone know things about that? And that's definitely like what I would recommend to someone in your class, or utilizing the Facebook page that they make for you guys if you're interested in having a roommate, because you want to find someone who can fit within your budget and also is comfortable enough to like give you space. The law school is awesome and has study rooms and has study carrels, which is like your own little desk at the law school that you can request to have. But if you're somebody that like likes to study at home by yourself, I would recommend doing that. But there's so many opportunities to have roommates if you're interested.
Yeah, and I think when we started law school, there was that Facebook page, and I believe Dean would post like anyone who was looking for a roommate. Like sometimes the 3Ls move out and the 2Ls still need a roommate. So yeah, I would utilize those pages as well if they haven't started the Facebook yet.
I just live with my stepbrother. He's not a law student. He works full time here in Columbia. It is kind of nice to have a roommate that's not in law school, I think, just because since we're so enveloped in the whole law school process, sometimes it's nice to be able to go home and like talk to someone that isn't part of the law school, but that wasn't by design. That's just kind of how it worked out.
And I'll keep it short because everyone else has said some plenty of reasons I don't have a roommate. So.
I live with my girlfriend and my dog, so like if you need to be away from law school and have that be its own corner, then don't have roommates that are in law school. If you feel like you need to be integrated to really like feel like connected and to like sympathize with what you're going through related to law school, then maybe you do want roommates. You got to do some soul searching if to figure out which one you are.
All right, thank you. So with the questions are clear in the chat. So I think we've got like 10 minutes left. So I'm just going to pose the final question of if there was a piece of advice beyond what you have already shared, or something that you wish you had known before you started this journey, if you're willing to share that with our excited entering 1Ls. And then if you could also put your email contact information in the chat for the students, if anyone wants to reach out to any of you, I'd appreciate it. And we'll go in reverse order again. Nolan, we'll start with you.
I would probably recommend I want to reemphasize that everyone is going through imposter syndrome when you first get here. And so just being open and talking to people, you can treat it like a business day, but the problem with doing that sometimes is that you close yourself off if you just go home at 5, right? So having that flexibility to be here on weekends or to be here for the study groups or to be here in this social setting is really important to basically feel like that commiseration when, you know, things are really stressful. I think that's really important.
I'll say you'll hear a lot about law school from people on TikTok to people incoming or people here in law school at Mizzou Law. People will tell you that, you know, they read all day, they study all day, they have no social time. It's so stressful. Law school is what you make it, just like undergrad. My first year, I did what everyone told me they did and what they had to do. I studied, read all day, outlined every case. And I found out that that didn't work for me. Actually, after my first semester, I didn't do very well. I mean, I wasn't, I didn't get kicked out or anything, but I didn't do what I, as well as I wanted to. And I had to take self-evaluation. I went to counseling, and I had to, step back and say, this is not working for me. And part of what Nolan said, it's imposter syndrome. You don't feel as if you're, worthy of being here and that you're capable, and you're trying to do what your peers are telling you what they do, which majority of the times, not trying to, talk about anyone's character, but majority of the times your classmates will not tell you the 100% truth, okay? They're not studying all day. They don't get 2 hours of sleep at night. And, it's not true. Find out what works best for you. You can go to law school and still live a normal life, still have social time with your friends, still do the things that you want to, and also at the same time be successful. You have to figure out what works for you, and that's different for everyone. And it may take some time to understand that, but what I would tell you now is use the summertime that you have now, figure out what works for you. Maybe I'm not best, people talk about treat law school as a job, 8 to 5. That may not work for you. Maybe you're not good and your brain will start working until 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. Make sure it's working when you have class. But besides that, figure out what works best for you. And that's the biggest piece of advice I can give to you.
Advice I would have, so when first semester, like a couple months in, I was just like, hey, wait, what is going on? Like, it's kind of like hard to know like exactly how everything works when it's like the first semester. But if you're going to class, you're doing your reading, you're taking notes, you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing, and you're in the right spot.
I really want to echo what Rashad said. I think that you can't do I'm really glad they put this on today because all of us do something different. I also learned that like strictly briefing a case exactly how like it's shown everywhere not going to help you if that's not how you learn. And then the second thing I would say is like, again, knowing how you work best. I try to wake up at 5 a.m. every morning and like do things because I thought like, oh, this is gonna be good. I've seen this being done. That didn't help me. Instead, I stay up late and I do my homework and it's working great for me. And then I get some sleep. Naps are amazing. I would highly recommend you take a nap. And then other than that, I would utilize your resources as much as possible. People here are very helpful. Honestly, they also have a therapist come in like every month or so. I would take advantage of that as well. But I don't want to freak you out. You're gonna get into it and then make it your own thing.
Yeah, I want to echo that it's exactly what you make it. I had a really tough year this year, and law school is not just like a super easy thing to like add on to that. But like I would do it again like 1,000 times over. The people that I've like gone out of my way to intentionally like be friends with and get to know and just like having a positive attitude, this is a fresh start for you. This is a fresh start for everyone. Even if you went to Mizzou in your undergrad, even if you think you know about like law school, you're going to figure it out when you get here, just like everyone else is. Literally today, being the last day of 1L classes, my friend brought me homemade apple butter, like jam, just as like a nice thing. And like, she's not in my section, but she's like one of my best friends because on the first day, and in the few days I intentionally went out of my way to get to know people. So I definitely would recommend that. Organizations are so important. I know all of us are involved in organizations. Put yourself out there. Do not be afraid to put yourself out there, because seriously, people at the beginning of the semester, people are going to grab at you to get involved. It's going to be a little overwhelming, and make sure you take time for yourself and what you need, but make sure that you find maybe like one group where you're like, these are my people. I feel comfortable and confident with them, because you're going to need people to rely on all throughout law school. And if you can find kind of a similar kind of thing that you guys relate to, it will be really helpful. I know that I'm involved in the Student Bar Association. It's like our student government. And those people and we got Azota with the WLA. I'm also in that. But with SBA, with the hard things going on, they like the 3 L's and 2 L's have like acted as my mentors, and like I love and adore them, and I feel so much more engulfed in the law school culture because of them. So I definitely recommend that you find a kind of your path and make the time here what you want to make it, and that's the experience you'll have.
I just want to expand on Sophie's comment about knowing what you want to do specifically. So I want to stress something that I didn't think about early on, which is boundaries. So starting with like your family and friends, like explain to them that you're probably not going to be able to call them every day, probably not going to visit them as much. But then when it translates into school, so one thing that I failed to do is after a test, everyone would kind of want to talk about the test and what they thought about it. And that just kind of put me in a mentally bad place. And so going into the last few tests and going into finals next month, I know that as soon as I'm done with the test, I'm going to go somewhere else, or I'm going to talk to people that aren't going to talk about the test, because I know that it's just going to make me crazy if I feel like I missed something. And also, like, I don't remember what I typed anyway, so it's not going to help me. But the good thing about Mizzou is that, as Oda talked about the therapist, there's a lot of stress on mental health, and there's like a push in the legal career to focus on that, which is pretty awesome. We have a wellness room, which you've done a tour, you've seen it. So take care of yourself first and foremost, and you know what you need.
Well, thank you so much to our panelists for sharing their experiences with you. Thank you so much for joining us today. As I said, keep an eye on your email, and Dean will be in touch in the near future. These are sort of lawyer words without having to commit ourselves to an actual date, but saying near future with the Canvas page and some additional information. But certainly anything that comes from Dean is really important and has good information. So we won't overburden you with a whole lot, but we do want you to just kind of keep your eye out, and there'll be more to come. If you have any questions, concerns, anything, feel free to reach out to any of the students that you heard from today, myself, Dean, or Jeff, and we will point you in the right direction or help you however we can. So it's one of the things that we're really proud of here at Mizzou as our community, and we can assure you that we will we'll get you situated in the right direction if there's anything that's on your mind or anything that we can help with. But with that, I love it, just ZOU. We'll be in touch, and thanks so much for joining us today. Take care, everyone.